Hey, how's everybody doing today? And welcome back to another episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk. I have today Lisa Defalco, not Defalco. Um, um, and she is the CEO and founder of TPG. And we're going to get into a little bit about TPG and the why behind TPG and just the overall journey that Lisa has. If you don't know her, she's very active out there when it comes to women in leadership events. And just she's very passionate about this product of hers. And we're going to bring that out today. So, Lisa, welcome. And can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what are you up to these days?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you, Mark, for having me. I love this coffee talk. This is such a great idea, and I appreciate you inviting me here. And I've really enjoyed spending time with you at the industry event in June as well at the CCW Forum in Vegas. The big national event was awesome. So,
Yes.
yeah, what are we up to? It is amazing these last few years about how we've been able to rethink our industry, and our industry is the quality side of all of the contact center communications. And we've been redesigning how the industry should see and experience quality for the last few
Hmm.
years. We originally were the founders of the quality industry. We are the authors of that tagline that everybody knows. This call may be monitored for quality assurance. So
Thank you.
yeah, we've been doing so. We've been listening to calls for a very long time. And a few years ago, we decided that it was time to completely disrupt our own industry, our own market, and set the course for the entire industry of quality in an AI era. And that's what we've been doing. We've been leading the way and helping the entire market see the value of being able to understand AI and the how it can really help understand the conversation with your consumers. So that's what we've been
Love
doing.
it. Man, you've been busy.
Busy. It's a fast paced, BPO and contact center, all that language has always been a fast paced or,
Yep.
a part of our industry, right? But when you add AI, it's like, wow, it goes on like warp speed. So everything we've been accomplishing, if it takes a week, it
Uh-huh.
feels like that week was like lasting like a year. It's so like so much accomplished in that time frame. And so
Yes.
it's really it's not for the faint of heart. And right.
Yep.
But like you, we're innovating all the time and having a lot of fun doing it. And it's a rare moment that we all get to actually design the future, not only of
Hmm.
the industries we all serve, but also in the ecosystem, but really society, how we're all really
Yes.
connecting with one another. And so it's such a remarkable time that I don't take it for granted. And we want to just continue to innovate.
One of the things that spoke to me when I saw you in Las Vegas um, was just how human focused you are. Um, and I see a trophy sitting behind you. What is that trophy? Is that a new one?
That actually is a new one. So we
Excellent.
won the Innovation of the Year
Mhm.
for United Healthcare, and we are just really honored for that. I mean, it's such a there was such a wealth of technology and innovation, and to be able to stand out among hundreds and hundreds of applications, and how we won. Well, first of all, it's really ties into what you said about the human connection to it. So when we brought our next generation of what does it mean to listen to a conversation and really learn how the consumer is feeling about that conversation and the connection and bond they have with the company that's connecting with them, we realized that we needed to keep the human right in the middle of that. And so not only did we do that through some capabilities that we'll talk about, but we named the product Anna.
Ah,
And when we named her Anna and we brought it to the market and we won this award, it's because we were really showcasing how AI can really have a picturesque moment with connecting humans and not distancing ourselves. And so that's really what won the day, and has been and is now the innovation of the year there.
I love it. I love it. I was going to ask a little bit about TPG and your best friend Anna.
Yeah,
Um, you
she's
know
become all of
what?
our best friends, Mark.
It,
She's the it gal. She's the it gal, don't you think?
I thought I we were like BFFs when we met.
I love it.
So so you also just had an anniversary for the company as well. 29 years, is that correct?
29. Yeah, I don't know where that time was gone, but yeah, it's 29 years. And one of the things I learned from that, when we started 29 years ago, we just had an idea.
Hmm.
I call it, I started a company and I created an industry, but I like to say that I started a movement because
Hmm.
back then the idea of listening to conversations in the
Yep.
contact center, so anything non-face to face, was
Yep.
just like unheard of, right? Like nobody did that.
Hmm.
Why would you do that? But
Yeah.
we recognized that there was this like wealth of knowledge. And if you wanted to have a really meaningful relationship between the business that sponsored that contact center
Hmm.
and the agent that's really your advocate of the brand, then you have
Yes.
to listen and help elevate, not beat down, not ding, but build up. And so
Hmm.
we started the journey with that idea in mind. We came up with the tagline. And as everybody, I always say this, the tagline that went around the world. Everybody knows it, right? And
Yes.
but more importantly, we designed kind of the method of how I'll say the largest companies in the world define a quote great call.
Yep.
And that method's carried us for decades, and really helped define what a great call sounds like and the experience it delivers around the globe. And so, yeah, we've been really fortunate. We had over 2 decades of that business. And then we said, you know what? We're bored. Let's disrupt ourselves. And I
Yes.
know it's not easy to do because we were in like a mode of, we know how to do this. We know how to do this. And I was
Yep.
like, nah, let's try again. Let's reinvent and let's go back into the drawing board and say, what could it be like? This is before
Hmm.
AI was even mentioned. There was no A and no, there was no I out there in
Uh-huh.
the right? And so we wanted to redesign and say, where could it go? And so we had this idea about being able to really have an oversight model that can lift up the human experience on every call, on every
Mm.
situation. And that's where Anna came. And so to be. And so now, yeah, 29 years later, we're still innovating. We're still going strong on that front.
I always tell people anytime they say, "Hey, we want to bring AI into our environment." It's like, okay, well, what is it that you want to do? Because I view AI as always iterating, but I'm going to steal
I
something that
like
you just said. It's always in, yeah, always in another innovation.
that.
Not just always iterating, but another innovation.
Another innovation. That's right.
Yep,
AI. There you
exactly.
go.
It shouldn't scare you. It shouldn't scare you,
No,
and that's awesome. So, can you talk a little bit about some of the nuts and bolts around Anna and what it does and how it does it?
sure. Yeah. So Anna is a large language model that's specialized in emotional intelligence. And so you have all these language models as consumers nowadays, right? We all know the
Hmm.
Chat GPT and Grok and Gemini, et cetera. And they're really focused on at a consumer level, like speaking as a member of society, just a consumer,
Yeah.
they're trying to get you knowledge and I'll call it intellectual knowledge, right? They're trying to get you
Hmm.
information. And they're searching the world. You ask a question and it retrieves it back. Well, Anna is taking an angle and saying, of all that information that's out there, no one's able to really understand how to emotionally connect. So I can
Mm.
be intellectually curious and smart, but am I emotionally intelligent on that? And so that's her specialty because that's where
Okay.
we started this journey now with over 200 million data points that we
Uh-huh.
had collected over the the 2 dozen years, right, that we had been in the
Yep.
business, listening to calls for the most respected brands around the globe. And so we had all this data. We spent a decade designing what does it mean and how do you define great conversation. What does it mean to really, really effectively communicate with one another as powerful humans? And so all of that knowledge, all of that intelligence formed a knowledge base, which is the centerpiece of a language model. And
Yep.
so we said, okay, now that we've got this large language model that you can interact with, just like you're interacting at home with ChatGPT, how do we place Anna's interaction capability in the center so she can listen and observe and assess all of your conversations, not just the human delivered ones, but now, as you know, we have a lot of AI agents out there, right? A lot
Yes.
of bots that are talking. And so making sure that they're factually accurate, but also they're empathetic and they actually are communicating with us in a way so that we don't distance ourselves from and really desensitize ourselves in how we want to communicate with people. And so that's what she does. So she's a language model. She's got a bunch of
Yep.
applications around her, and she is just out there every day working with hundreds of thousands of contact center agents and supervisors and executives to make their conversations better.
That is awesome. And how you sum that up so quickly, I'm absolutely amazed. So you can tell this has been a passion project for you,
Yeah.
over your career. And I love the fact that it's rooted in emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and back when I started in contact centers 35 years ago, um,
Just yesterday.
um, yeah, exactly. I think we were all two around then.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
Um, so, there started to become a movement in the early 2000s about emotional intelligence and EQ and whatnot. And I love the fact um, that your technology is rooted in the same things that we're preaching to humans, and it's able to evaluate and assess, through AI. I love
Yeah.
that.
Well, if you
Um,
think about it, Mark, even back you mentioned 2000s, and we were on the forefront. I don't just mean we, as my company at TPG,
mhm.
I mean there's a group of us that were leading in the industry association called the American Teleservice Association, ATA. And
Yep.
we were really concerned. There was a lot of stories, if you remember back then, where this is long before bots and tech, but where we were finding that the industry was becoming so robotic, whether it was heavily scripted in our sales environments or whether the service environments, we had so many legacy systems and still do. And,
Mhm.
and it's really difficult to retain your humanity with a fellow citizen when you're just trying to maneuver your systems and get the answers to it and deal with somebody who
Yes.
might be frustrated or trying to sell but told you have to say it exactly this way. And
Mhm.
so this idea of protecting consumer speech and making sure that we don't get frustrated with one another, but we actually lean in to wanting to speak with one another has been
Yep.
a passion project because of that. So it started a long time ago. We were out in front back in those at that day when we were leading the cause on the do not call era. And we recognized that the reason that was a kind of a tsunami in the industry was because we were not speaking to consumers, we were talking at them, right? Do you remember that?
Preach. Preach.
Preach, right? Yeah. And I have never lost that. I mean, I've had, being at the forefront of that and advocating back then for, I mean, I can tell you stories how I met some folks where when I'll never forget, we were asked to spend time with Tucker Carlson
Mhm.
and with Paul Begala. They were running a show called Crossfire. Now I'm dating
Okay.
myself since you mentioned the early 2000s, and we were asked to go on the show, and I didn't have the courage. I had the cheap seat. I was in the green room and I prepped our leader in the industry, Tim Searcy, to go out in the front on the stage, right, and be, on TV. And I just remember them just, I mean, he was a wonderful debater, thank goodness. But
Yep.
they're just going at him to say, how could you talk to people? You're not even talking with them. And why would anybody want to talk to you, a stranger? And that stuck with me. I was like, well, don't we talk to each other as strangers all the time? I mean, if you're in a restaurant and you talk to a stranger, it's called a
Exactly.
waiter or waitress. And so how could, wait a minute. So I realized then, hey, it's not that we don't want to, it's when it's not done well, then we don't want to. But when it's
Yes.
done really well, then we're willing to do it. We want to engage. That's carried that story and watching Tim just take the fire on crossfire and
Oh
me and
man.
going, say this. You can do it out there. It's always stuck with me. And so being really passionate about being able to stay connected with humans and leaning into, are we listening? Are we compassionate? Are we empathetic with one another? I think that's really important with each other. And then you get right now that stays with us back in the days, as we mentioned. And then this next tsunami hits us. And that next tsunami is technology, both the
Mhm.
mobile apps that hit us and
Yep.
that sometimes worked, but most times didn't in the beginning. So now they
Hmm.
were triggering a lot of reactive calls to us
Yep.
where people were frustrated, like you told me this would be easy and now it's not.
Yep.
And now the next part of that being AI. And so I just see that need, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I feel like the need to communicate is more important. The skill to communicate is more important
Yes.
today than it was even back in the 2000s. And it never goes away. What are your thoughts on that?
100% agree because a lot, today, well, let's go back 20, 25, 30 years, and IVR was all the rage, and it was going to replace all the contact center jobs. That's what frustrated a lot of people, I believe. Fast forward to today, and IVAs, um, self-service, automation, that's supposed to go ahead and take the low-hanging conversations, the tier one type of conversations away from the agents. So guess what the agents are left with? The more complex.
That's right.
Okay. And so the agents have to understand, and not just the agents, organizations, in my opinion, need to understand you're not fixing a password or getting an account balance or taking a payment. These are complex situations that it's going to require the humans to have a lot higher skill set than what
Mm,
they did 25, 30 years ago. So that human connection, if it's not being done well, I like how you said that before. If it's not being done well, that consumer is gonna go to your competitor, and all it takes is one or two bad interactions, and that you've lost a customer in a lot of cases. Um,
yeah.
the other thing I see also, Lisa, and I'm sure that you're picking up on this, is if I'm in an industry, I'm not going to call out any industry. We all know who the good ones and the bad ones are. But if I'm in an industry that the customer experience isn't as strong, I'm comparing my experience in that industry to the really good experiences that I'm having with um, with different
Yeah.
organizations.
Hmm.
And so it's no longer, well, I had a bad experience with, Brohawk. It's Brohawk's experience is less than so and so's or less than what I expect as a consumer. Um, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that's spot on, and I'll tell you, it's interesting. There's a few elements to that you're
Yep.
mentioning. One is that when we think about automation, and we are starting to think from, if we let our no disrespect to our chief digital officers in corporate America, but if
Yep.
we let them decide what actually gets automated, they're going to take a slab at it and say, well, why wouldn't you automate all?
Yes.
And what we're seeing in that is that can distance, our research is saying this. And again, in the last 18 months alone, we
Hmm.
have assessed over 65 million conversations. And so just in the last 18 months. And
Yep.
so in the ability to, what we're seeing is we're starting to see a distancing, a reduction in connective tissue between the consumer and the brand, meaning lower satisfaction because of what you're
Yes.
saying.
Hmm.
And that's what I mean by distancing. And
Yep.
so if they're actually going to automate, but now they don't have that loyalty to the brand in the same way they did, because
Hmm.
it's just a bot, it's just automation, it's not human connected. Then they
Yep.
start to compare, to your point, to the other brands of delivering a differentiated strategy. Let's call it
Yes.
that. It's not just higher
That
quality,
works.
it's a differentiated strategy,
Yep.
and it's more human based. So I'm not suggesting no automation. I'm promoting that we are wise about it. And right, because it's really going to set companies apart in the same vertical, or
Yep.
having us even in the same kind of class of how we actually speak in terms of who's using tech and who's not, or to what
Hmm.
degree. And something else you mentioned, Mark, to part that our research is saying, again, in the last 18 months, we are seeing average conversation lengths
Hmm.
increasing by 4 minutes. Now that is dramatic. That's
Yep.
We have never seen that level of change. We've been doing behavioral research for now
Hmm.
29 years, as you mentioned. We have
Yep.
never seen that type of dramatic shift in that timeline ever. So 4 minute change, meaning an increase in average call
Yes.
length, and we're seeing duress in those conversations more than double. So it's, and it kind of in
Mm.
common sense makes sense, but I don't think we
Yep.
planned it as a society, as a community, because we're talking about saving money, automating, and it's like, wait a minute. If you thought you were going to automate 50% of your conversations or whatever volume, and yet that which you've left is actually taking longer to serve,
Yep.
and they're more complicated, and they come with more duress, right?
Yep.
Not only, to your point, do you have to raise the skill of the agent, but you have to know that the satisfaction of those calls is going to be lower. You're dampening it. And so
Hmm.
you better really rethink how we are going to serve that if we're just going to try to stay the course on satisfaction, on
Yeah.
those barometer, that barometer metric. And it's a complete change like we've never seen. Even before, we said IVR and mobile. This is
Yeah.
different than anything we've ever seen before in the market.
I I completely agree with you. And 4 minutes is huge.
Enormous. It's enormous.
Huge. I
Yeah.
mean, there would be, I think companies would typically see like 30 or 45-second fluctuations and increases. 4 minutes, that's game changing right there.
It really
Um,
is.
and
Shock
you
up.
need a strategy for that,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely. Because the original strategy, right, Mark, was that everybody was like, oh, average call length is X,
Yep.
right? And oh, we're going to take X% of those calls out. And so we don't need this part of staff and it's going to be easy and da da da. And so it's like, whoa, 4 minutes changes our whole game.
Yep.
Our workforce models changed, our model, everything's changed. And maybe we're not going to get the savings that we expected. Doesn't mean we don't get any. It's just
Yes.
that at what cost? At what cost of it?
Yep.
Right? Yeah. And the other thing we're seeing, and that people really, I don't think really thought through, is some of those service conversations that were kind of vanilla, right?
Yep.
That they like the simple ones, as you use the language. And that's like the first, everyone's like high resolution, they're simple. Let's get them out. Let's get them out.
Yep.
They were in many cases not only the source of an opportunity to reinforce the value of your relationship, they're also the source of introducing new product,
Yes.
right? So cross sell, lead gen, all that language. And so when you remove them, there's a revenue channel that you're also
Hmm.
blocking. That so now you have a digital team coming in saying, and an IT team saying, reduce, automate.
Yep.
You have a servicing team saying, okay, I'll lower the cost to serve, and that's being flawed.
Yep.
But then you also have a sales and marketing team going, whoa, 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 that was a revenue channel for us.
Yes.
And we're so new to this era that those three, they'll say those three teams haven't
Hmm.
really had an opportunity to strategize together inside of companies to say, whoa, how will we design this for the future? Does that make sense? And so we're
Yeah,
really,
it totally makes sense.
yeah, it's a game-changing proposition. So that's why we're out in front saying, don't forget the human. Don't forget this human element. Because if you think about
Yes.
the human element on both sides of
Yep.
it, that will lead us to valuing not just communication, but valuing what, when you talk about the human connection, you naturally think about, in my opinion, the loyalty, those words come to mind, right?
Yep.
Loyalty, satisfaction, trust, all those words come to mind. And so those are the words that need to come to mind to say, okay, now how do we redesign how to live and benefit from technology, AI, but not distance ourselves and not remove that trust factor and the revenue factor with it.
You hit the nail on the head right there with that word trust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because calls are not just numbers. Um, Calls, like you said, are opportunities. And if consumers or agents even don't have the trust in the technology that's providing them guidance or um, self-service, the right answers, that's actually going to go ahead and increase call time because the consumer is going to be like, yeah, it says something different on your website.
Yeah.
Or Frankie told me something different when I called in, 2 hours ago. Um, and the agent's kind of stuck because, oh man, am I giving people bad information? Blah blah blah. And all of a sudden attrition starts to increase, and then you have newer employees that are coming in, interacting with your most important touch point, which is the contact center,
Yeah.
and they're losing. They're
They're
losing.
looking. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, isn't it funny? Everyone's running around saying trust in the language of trust and safety,
Yep.
right? And but they're not really thinking about what does trust really mean?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So yes, it has to be accurate. I totally agree with you on that. But
Uh-huh.
it's if you really dig deeper into what it means to trust,
Hmm.
it really starts to build a connection. When you're connected and you trust someone,
Yep.
someone as an individual, some a group of someone's representing a company, a brand you do business with. If you
Hmm.
trust, then you're loyal. And so,
Yes.
right? And so people haven't taken it. So we hear all this like language, trust and safety. And I'm like, okay, you're running around using some cliche tagline out here, and you're running around worried about the accuracy exclusively. And it's like
Hmm.
accuracy is a one thread of the trust, but let's
Yep.
take it deeper on that. If somebody's going to trust you to really care for them as a customer, and you threw their conversations into AI without thinking through the ramification of it. And by the way, your answers, not only are they not accurate, but they're not even empathetic. You haven't even created a bot that actually can communicate with them,
Hmm.
right? And so they know it's a bot. They know. They're
Yep.
like, okay, you don't even you don't care about me enough to
Yes.
actually connect me with someone. So you want this to really feel like it's a robot on me. So I'm not trusting you with my loyalty,
Yes.
right?
I'm not
It's
going to give you my credit card information because,
exactly, where's that
hmm,
gonna go? And
yeah.
right? And by the way, the next time I get a better deal, even if that's just by a nickel, I'm gone.
Yep.
Because I no longer trust that you care about me as a customer. So, again, it sounds like I'm anti AI and meanwhile, I'm an AI pioneer and I've been,
Yeah.
I run an AI company. That's not it at all. It's just, it's like we need to put some thought to it in anything, right? I mean, and any of this
100%.
business or in our consumer products, right?
Yeah.
Thought to what we're using with this technology so that we don't just desensitize our customer
Mhm.
and we don't desensitize our employee. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've been reading all the concern of the younger generation dealing with AI and like they won't have jobs and they're not being trained and
Yeah.
why should they care about capitalism? These are these are enormous societal issues that actually we're all dealing with in the contact center because part of our ecosystem and contact center are like for early jobs, right? Employment
Yes.
for people entering the market. And if they feel like they can't go anywhere or that's going to be displaced, replaced,
Hmm.
they're not even leaning in to trust you as the employer.
Yes.
It's it's just it's a fascinating time. And I think we all get really excited about the shiny object and it comes back to what you said earlier, like, yeah, we have shiny object. Anna is sexy. She's the only
Yep.
language model doing EQ. It's hot. Everyone's loving it. It's great. We're also very focused and concerned about the humanity side. What is this doing to society? How
Hmm.
can it help and elevate and not destroy?
Yes. I that's just one of many reasons why I love the EQ aspect of Anna.
Hmm.
Um, and why Anna and TPG and you're out here just winning on a consistent basis. Um, so
Yeah.
that's
Well,
awesome. I know we've kind of talked through a lot of the questions that I was thinking about for this, but I do have a question for you, because you've had a great professional career. You started your own business, but even before that, I mean, you were very active in the industry. But I'm particularly interested in learning about your thoughts at this stage in your career. I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self blank. And how would that have helped you navigate, some of the ups and downs in your career better?
well, that's a good one. I'll tell you, I'll tell you what I learned. And I learned it to your point. I learned it later. I
Hmm.
mentioned my good friend Tim Searcy. He taught me so much. He unfortunately passed in 2018, and I'll never forget what lesson he taught me. It was toward the end, and we were talking, and he said to me, "I need you to change your life and I need you to promise me that you're going to make this change." And that's a pretty, dramatic statement. And but a friend who's dying, you go, "Oh, okay, I'm in. Like what can
Yeah,
I do?"
yeah.
And he said to me, "I need you to promise that you'll leave nothing left unsaid and nothing left undone." And I still get emotional over that. He said, "You leave too much unsaid. Find your voice and you're going to find your power. And you have power and you just don't use your voice." And he said, "There's so many things you want to do and you've left them undone. And so you always think there's tomorrow and it's not. And promise me you'll change." That was really life changing for me. And if I were to go back, it changed me then. It made me go back and talk a lot about how people can leave nothing left unsaid and make sure that we don't feel like we have to wait until X to really have an impact. And I started TPG when I was in my 20s.
Hmm.
I didn't think through that I was going to start this company movement until after the fact. I was just making it happen. I'm a single mom at the time, and I'm just making things, paying the bills and et cetera. And I wish I would have realized that I was making a difference every day. And I think young people today don't realize that they're making a difference every day. And that's why they opt out. That's why they're not engaged in our society the way maybe even we were,
Yeah.
because they don't feel like they can make a difference. And so instead of them feeling like I don't have any, it doesn't matter if I get something left undone. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter if I leave something unsaid. I I wish I would have known that. And now I'm out there encouraging the next generation to say, go do it. Go
Yes.
make something happen for yourself. You can do it. And I think I wish I had known that. I wish I had known that.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Because I think that I, I love that because people don't think of um, how much of an impact they can really have on somebody um, until it's too late in a lot of cases.
It's so
So,
true.
you
It's
know,
so true. Yeah,
um,
and I think that, our young people, and I know I'm spending a lot of time on because I'm really leaning into this, part of our group, our society. I feel like that they don't realize that even on the small scale, you're making an
hmm
impact. You don't
yep,
have to wait or feel like, oh, who am I? What am I? When I started my company and even when I was leading the industry, I was, as having a woman lead, I was the first chairwoman of our
hmm
association, right?
yep,
Having being a CEO and a founder, then and now, it's a very rare.
hmm
And so the ability to look that back and say, well, do I have a voice? Can I really do it? There were not a lot of moments that I could have big moments back then.
hmm
But every little moment counts. And I think that for every role, you don't have to be a CEO, you don't have to start an industry or a tagline. Every
yep,
single day, if you have an impact on one human, even at a moment kindness, just a moment of kindness,
yep.
that is that is plenty. That's a great day. That's a great day.
I'll tell you, Lisa, people that are behind me in the Starbucks drive-through are usually never have to pay for anything.
Oh,
Um,
amen. I love that.
because and I'm not saying this for any other reason, but I internalize exactly the sentiments that you shared because it may be a coffee, but you know what? That could be the difference in making somebody feel like they're worth something. You just have no idea what that person's story is about. It could be the last $5 that they have in their pocket. Um, and you just don't know who you have the impact with on a daily basis. So I love the sentiment. I love the
Yeah.
sentiment. And um, well, that got deep real quick, huh?
I did get really deep. Well, and it's interesting you were mentioning it because, I really feel like there's also like a faith. I mean, to go stay deep for half a minute, I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like there's a faith revival that's happening and needed. And I think that
Mhm.
I welcome that as well as part of
Yep,
communication, right? The ability to communicate with one another effectively and the
yep.
ability to have faith in each other as in our humanity, faith in
hmm
our society. I'm very deeply faithful, so I have faith in God. And
Yep.
I think there's a lot of comfort to that, and that allows us not to leave anything left unsaid, right? And that's a very,
Yes.
and I think I believe in that. I believe in that. And if I were to go back into my younger years and tell myself that one thing, I'd tell them lean into all of that. And I don't think I would tell them much, but my younger person much more, because even though I made a bunch of mistakes, and Lord knows I have made more mistakes. Like I tell people ask me, what's your secret to success? I'm like 10 years of failure. That's my
Yeah.
secret. So, and
Yes.
I wear those scars like proof. Like I wear them with pride. I
Yeah.
don't, my scars of my failure, like, and I'm not ashamed of them. I wear them with pride. because it means I endured and I made it through, and I feel great about like I'm able to actually say I got through that, right? And
Yep.
I think if I were to go back, I wouldn't change that, but I would let myself know to have my voice, have a voice. It's going to be okay.
Love it. Love it. And I mean, you're not the tallest person. Um, and it's important, you know, um, for I would my wife's 4'11" and a half, she says.
He's really
Um,
tall to me then. No, I'm 4'10".
yeah. But it's like, and I have a 7-year-old daughter. It's like, no, we teach her, use your voice, because you are powerful, in your thoughts, in your words, in your actions, and um, the regardless of your physical stature, um, have confidence in yourself, to go out and make a difference, with people, and use that. I love that. Use your voice.
Use your
So,
voice. I believe in that. I was on a stage about a year ago, and a friend of mine,
mhm,
he is a CEO of a large insurance company, and I had
uh-huh,
him. He went to the conference with me, and I was on this stage, and I knew him. I've known him, and
uh-huh.
all 4'10" of me gets on this stage, and I get off the stage, and he goes, "Wow." I said, "Why?" He goes, I thought you were 4'10". He goes, "But you were 11 foot tall on that stage."
Yes,
I said, well,
yes,
because I found my voice. That's why. That's exactly
yes.
why. That's so good.
I love it. Well, we're getting to the end. We're to the point of coffee talk where that I call the speed round. You ready?
Okay. All right. Game
All
on.
right.
Let's say.
What fun fact about Lisa would people be surprised to learn about you?
Oh yeah. I'm a huge Grateful Dead fan. So I'm a Deadhead.
Really?
Yep.
Excellent.
Guess that. Yep.
I
I've
love it.
over 30 shows. I have tons of tie-dye, and I love the Grateful Dead. And
Nice.
also the Dead and Company, which is their next gen.
Excellent. Excellent. I would not have expected that.
Oh yeah, I actually
So,
took my kids to it last year.
really?
For the first time. I was able. There was Dead and Company played. It's the Sphere,
Uh-huh.
and they've always known I'm a Deadhead. I
Yeah.
my day following around and toured the summer. Did that in the traveling in the Volkswagen bus and all that,
Yes.
and so I brought them to the show, and they were like, "We really want to experience this and see what mom is like that." And now, especially my youngest, who's of that age, 19, right, just
Uh-huh.
turned. So now he's a deadhead, and I love it. So we've been to just him and I this last 2 years. We've been to 6 shows, just so that's why it's well over 30.
I
So I love
love it. Oh,
it.
that is awesome. That is awesome. I would not have suspected that about you.
Yeah,
Very
there we go.
cool.
But I answered the question well then.
Yes, you did. So, what's your go-to tactic for unwinding after a stressful day?
So, well, I'm sure a great glass of wine helps everybody. Me too.
Exactly.
I would tell you that I meditate on a prayer. I go
Okay.
to my Bible. I read Ephesians. Ephesians is a
Okay.
great book, in my opinion, in the Bible, in the New Testament, and it brings me such peace. So that's my go-to.
Getting rooted back in faith again.
Yes, yes.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. So we're recording this in, late November. Um, and I'm asking a lot of folks that I'm talking to, what are your favorite late fall things to do?
My favorite late fall things, I'll tell you, is when I'm at home, which is Sarasota, Florida, which I don't always
Uh-huh.
get to be there. My favorite fall thing is to go to the beach because it's the best time. I know that's not a fall thing. You're like, probably like, that's not quite what I was thinking with it, but
Uh-huh.
it's the best time to be in Florida, in the southwest part of Florida. Weather
Yes.
is perfect, and
Uh-huh.
it's quiet. So that's my favorite fall thing to do. Is yeah,
And
nothing
no tour
sounds like fall.
and no tourists around.
No tourists and a great beach day, and yeah,
Yes.
and I'm in my happy place.
Excellent. Excellent. So, just to kind of wrap up, if someone wants to pick your brain about your company, TPG or Anna, and what it could do for them, um, any involvement that you may have, like in women in leadership events or just like uplifting events, conferences you'll be attending, how could they go ahead and contact you?
Yeah, so there's a few ways. So certainly good old email works for me,
Yep.
right? And that's my Lisa period Defalco at tpginc.com.
Excellent.
You can also go to our website, not only the tpginc.com, but my own website,
Okay.
lisadefalco.com.
Okay.
And you can get to me that way as well. And that tells you what events I'm going to be speaking at. And I've got a number of them that I'll be speaking at it over the next, 12 months. So happy to connect with everybody. And of course, LinkedIn. I'm on
Of course,
LinkedIn as
LinkedIn.
well. Of course, of
Excellent.
course.
I may have an event or two I'd love to get you out here to Austin, Texas for.
Well, I love Austin, so that's
Yeah.
not a hard ask to get me out there. It's such a great, great city, and oh, I've got a lot of friends out there. So yeah, you let me know, and I'm happy to be there.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Lisa, thank you very much. I think this was a great conversation. Um, this was it was great having you on finally. I know we've been talking about this for a minute or two, and to finally be able to get you on, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to have coffee talk with me.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's always good talking with you and seeing you. I appreciate this so much, and we will talk again soon.
We will talk again soon. And if you like this episode, as my 7-year-old daughter says, like and subscribe on YouTube. So, Lisa, thank you again, and happy holidays for you.
Happy
And
holidays.
we'll be talking again soon.
Sounds great.